and welcome to this week's Loose Links. We are back after a couple of weeks' break with plenty to talk about. Joining me on the panel, Nicholas James, is Kerry Gillespie. Mike Curtis. And our newest to the family, Leah Greenwood. As we talk about this morning as a speculation that Holly Willoughby has stepped down and is not coming back after the summer break. But we talk about has she done the right thing, but it also leads us to talking about friendship. Is there a point where we do walk away from people? Also, we talk about a man in the dating world that decides not to tell his new partners or anybody that he's dating that he's got children till after a year of being with them. Find out how the panel feel if that is them. And also we finish on the iconic Sinead O'Connor and that magical song, but find out if there's been a song in our lives that we always fall back into. There's some interesting choices. Stay tuned for this week's Loose Links. Good evening, panel! Hi! Oh, it's so good to be back now. Now, I've got to say, we could have a show tomorrow night, but we've got Mike Curtis on the panel, and it always goes wrong when Mike's on the panel. So we could have a show, or we couldn't have a show.
Quite possibly, Nick, quite possibly. So, Liam, you might end up finding out that you actually don't go live tomorrow. So I do apologise that this is your first experience with us.
You never know. Leah, welcome to Loose Links. How are you feeling?
Good, thanks. A bit nervous, but yeah.
Oh, I'm ready to debate. I'm so ready to debate in a couple of months now. I'm ready to start. So let's get straight started. So, is Holly Willoughby leaving this morning? This morning has a presenter called Holly Willoughby, followed by the Philip Schofield scandal, which saw his shock exit following the confession of his affair. At the minute, Holly Willoughby took an extended break from ITV's morning show. Months later, the mum of three has taken another break, leaving viewers searching for answers of where she's left this morning. It's been on discussion, I'm not going to read it all, it's been on discussion that Holly Willoughby has completely stepped down from This Morning now and has left the show. We've all heard about the Philip Schofield. You couldn't miss the Philip Schofield debate, really, and what happened with him. But if this is true, do you believe, panel, Holly has done the right thing by walking away? Oh, it's great to be back. Lots of talk, lots of.
I don't know. I think with it personally, I suppose it's been. She's had a massive career with him along the side for a long, long time, and probably coupled with what happens, and probably some online hate towards her as well, which I've seen in a couple of places. You know, it might have just took its toll, and she's needed a break. I don't know. I don't watch This Morning, and I haven't followed really anything like this. But you know, if she's going to leave completely, that's going to be to look after her own well-being, isn't it? More than anything, I think.
Do you think she's almost being forced by the Philip Schofield scandal?
No.
So you don't feel like she's
being no.
Can you, Kerry? Can you stop leaning back? Because every time you lean back, you go blurry.
Sorry, I keep still. No, I don't think she's getting forced out. I think the situation overall is, you know, they were probably very, very close friends at one point, and it's just been too much for her. Can you imagine sitting on the TV in front of a few million people, or however many people watch it? I don't know, and have stuff going on in your head about what people think of you or what people say about you. Maybe it's just too much. You don't know. I'm not being funny. She's probably quite comfortable to just leave anyway.
Yeah. It's not like she's going to be at the Dole office, is it? Go on, Mike. Go on.
It's very sad, though, isn't it? I mean, if she has left because of that, because, you know, or if she's planning on leaving because of that, because she shouldn't be penalised for somebody else's errors. I mean, as we know, Nick, you're not Philip's biggest fan. I mean, I still feel that things were maybe dealt with a little bit harshly by the public in terms of him. I do appreciate that, there are some intertwined concerns or intertwinding concerns. So I'm not going to rev you up, Nick, because I know we're not talking about Phil. But I do feel for her. Oh, I know, it's a touchy subject. But I just feel for her that that's really sad. But I guess the question is what does she know about that? And I suppose when you sit in such a public arena and the entire show is focused really on you challenging public political perspective, you have got to lead you've got to be willing to take the criticisms when they come back, haven't you? Because they don't hold back.
But this is a sexual allegation, isn't it? It's not just a thing you can sweep under, really, or a fallout. It's a little bit. It's not a little bit. It's very, very serious, isn't it? And I think that the whole thing surrounding it is probably just too much.
See, I think that she's doing totally the right thing. I think that I suppose the same as Nick, really. I think that she's friends with him, so she knew things and had no opportunity but to leave because of the controversy of people's opinions. And yeah, I think she's doing the right thing.
But it goes from, and Mike, I'm sorry you've got me started, but it does make you start to think about friendship, doesn't it? And Philip and Holly had such an iconic friendship on screen. They were always together and stuff like that. But if not as bad as that, obviously, but it did get me thinking a little bit about friendship. So that I'm going to throw a question that I haven't put down actually. If you found out a friend had lied about something very serious to you or close to your heart, and you believed them, and then you found out that they lied, how would you feel about that? Let's go to you.
Betrayed. I couldn't be friends with them, I don't think. I think friendship's based on trust and based on kind of the same morals. I don't think you can be friends with somebody if you don't agree with their morals. So be friends with somebody that had done something that I really, really disagreed with.
Depends what for me. If you're talking something serious like a sexual abuse allegation, etc., and it was proven, then I would probably understand why that person had chosen not to share that, because people understand right from wrong on the whole, and certainly these characters, what we're sort of talking about, Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield, they know right from wrong, don't they? So let's not butter that up in any other way, so I imagine that if she didn't know, she'd be quite devastated. But if she did know, because I suppose we'll never really know, will we, whether she knew or not. There's been a lot of information been leaked, hasn't there, from sort of neighbouring TV shows, suggesting that, ITV were very aware of this relationship. And I know there was something in the press last week where a senior member of the ITV was being interviewed and she admitted that she'd heard the allegations. So, there is more and more coming out.
But what do you think, Carrie? Do you think if you had found out, if somebody had told you their truth and you stood by them and you stuck up for them and all of this, and then you find out later on down the line that friend comes to you and says, actually, the whole thing was a lie, how would you feel about that? Would you be able to trust that friend again? Would you be able to keep that communication going?
I think, well, firstly, if I'd supported someone, whatever they'd done, and if I'd supported them towards other people, it'd be, what's the word? Is it condescending? Is that the right word I'm thinking of? It would be a bit fake, wouldn't it, for me to try, if that's the wrong word, I think, for me to support a friend with a lie because I believe it's true, because I believe, like Leah said, the morals that you've got, you think you're the same, you're on the same level. It would certainly change my view on that person. Quite possibly, like Mike said, depending on what has happened, would depend if I stay in close contact.
Would
So I
you
don't
cut
know,
it
it
there
really
and then
depends on
though,
what it is.
Kerry, or would you just slowly back off? Would you have your say first and say, actually, I can't be friends with you anymore, or would you
Do you know
just
what?
slowly stop
I'd
talking?
probably say when I was younger, I would have slowly stopped communication. But as I've got older, I would just come out and say, this is how it is, and I no longer want the friendship. Because you just learn as you get older, you don't kind of hold things, and you're not as, I suppose, childish, are you, when you get older? You know where you stand, and you know what kind of friends you want by your side. I would just come out and say it. It wouldn't bother me doing that now. But previously, when I was younger, I would have probably just ignored the person until we just didn't speak.
It's a difficult
And the
one,
thing
isn't
is,
it?
Mike, it is difficult. When Mike just said then about Holly maybe knowing about what happened, do you know what I thought of then? I thought, if that is the case, how selfish was she to stay having her face on that TV? If she knew all along that was happening and she was aware and she'd spoken to him about it and that. So, if I had a friend who'd done something like that and I knew about it and I falsely supported them and carried on as normal, then, I'm just bowing down to that level, aren't I? I'm bowing down to a really low friendship level, which just isn't me.
And when it comes to friendship, just moving forward a little bit, when it comes to friendship, what is let's go round the panel. Let's go to you first, Leah. What's the difference for you between a friend and an acquaintance?
I think a friend is somebody that like I said, have the same morals as the same. I have trust in them. We have things in common. And then like an acquaintance would be somebody maybe that I'd say hi to in the street, or that you would maybe, I don't know, you wouldn't meet them for coffee or something like that. I'd say that was a friend. It would be more of just somebody that you know, that you just say hello to, or that would be it.
What about you, Kerry? What's the difference between a friend and an acquaintance?
Well, I don't have many friends because I don't particularly like a lot of people, so I've probably got more acquaintances than friends. Saying hi in the street and walk on by. I think, oh God, I think for me, friends, I've got quite a few friends, and I don't see them all the time. But when I do, I totally agree with Leah. It's the morals, it's how you are as a person. You just click, you just gel together. You might not see each other for 3 months, and then you meet up, or, and it's just like you haven't seen each other for a week or something. An acquaintance I'd probably associate with like work colleagues. Because I'm with them literally 80% of my week, aren't I? Working 5 days a week. So there is some sort of an acquaintance.
Yeah.
And there's like friendship in that, but it's not like a full-on friendship.
You, Michael?
Probably a combination of the two, really. So I think for me, I think I have different levels of friends. So I have like an immediate group of close friends. And then I have what I call like my scatter friends. So they're like people that you might see in like, I don't know, activities or hobbies or whatever else. And you'd have a chat and you could generally have a conversation with them. And then you've got kind of professional working relations and then acquaintances. So for me, like acquaintances are literally just people that you would probably know and could be sociable with if you were in like a small space sitting next to them on the bus, or next to them in a bar, hello, how are you, etc. But you wouldn't particularly share anything of a sensitive nature or that sort of connective moment. So yeah.
Good answer. Slowly moving on to our second topic, ladies and gents, is the new Barbie movie. So Elton John has spoken out about the new Barbie movie, of the backlash of the portrayal of anti-men feminism, saying if you take a shot every time Barbie says the word feminism, you will pass out before the end of the movie. Elton is joined by the backlash on the big Barbie movie about actually it's an anti-men film and it doesn't speak out well for our children. But do you agree? Oh, sorry, ladies, we did do a poll on Holly. And the poll was 80% of you said no, she shouldn't step down, and 20% of you said yes, she should step down. So a few mixed views there, but going back to there, to talk about the Barbie movie, you tell I'm a bit rusty. Do you agree with the backlash, or have people just gone over the top and just forgotten this is a children's bloody film? Let's go to you.
Oh, you
Michael.
said bloody.
I know. Let's go to you first, Michael. What do you think?
Oh, I love the Barbie film. But, you know, I think maybe there's like some sort of at the moment connection with me and some of those Kens. I could quite happily wander around dancing like that and just being silly, leading a very sort of happy life. So, you know, but no, I suppose it does have, doesn't it, lots of, I mean, the director is incredibly intelligent, isn't he? And the creator of it, if you think about how he's been able to rebrand Barbie and make millions, if not billions of pounds off the back of that film. I don't know really if it's an attack on men. I think it challenges lots of stigma, doesn't it, around what the female blonde character can portray and who she can be. So, you know, for me, I think it's quite sort of rock and roll in that sense. You know, I like that they're rebranding Barbie and she can be who she wants to be. But, you know, I also just think, you know, is Elton just a little bit upset that he wasn't in it? Is it because he wanted to get up there with Dua Lipa and, you know, do the body pop? You know, what was that about? So, yeah, I think it's a fun film. And yeah, you're right, it is for children, but I think I'm glad that it's challenging the perception of the perfect doll, because that's what she was designed as, wasn't she? It was you know, I know people don't want to hear this, but if you look at the history of Barbie, like a blonde sex symbol, you know, it all interconnects to that sort of 1950s. Leah does a flick for us. It all goes back to, doesn't it, those things? You know, so, you know, I think maybe it is maybe an attack back on the gender that is male, but, you know, I don't think it hurts. There's enough films out there where men certainly portray women in very specific ways.
I've not watched it, but I've read reviews on it and stuff like that. So you can shut me down here, Mike, because I've not watched it, but part of the review is saying that they're quite cross at how they portrayed Ken to Barbie. So on the Barbie film, there's a businesswoman Barbie, there's a hairdresser Barbie, there's a beauty makeup Barbie, all kinds of different Barbies, but just one man that is Ken. That's it throughout the film. That's
because they all behave the same. No offense, boys, but it's because they all behave the same, and they're all like age 5 in the head. So why have an array of Kens when you can have one? That was it all.
There are other Kens though, and he's the main actor, but there are other Kens, and when she goes into the real world, there's loads of male characters and situations that she comes up against.
But can you see, watching the movie then, Mike, let's go to you watching the movie, can you see why it can come across and people have come to the opinion of an anti-man film?
No. I think before my daughter went to watch it, and she said something like, because I mentioned this to her, and she said the other night, no, it's because Ken tried to take over, like the company, or Ken tried to take over something, and Barbie's like, I don't think so, Ken, no. So what has happened? Because I like that stands up for women's rights, isn't it? You know, my man trying to push Barbie. I am actually. The light switch gone. Is that what happens? Because if a man tried to push me off my ivory tower, mate, he'd be getting booted right down there.
Well, kind of, and there's different situations, isn't there? So she lives this kind of like idealistic world in Barbie Land, where her and her Barbie pals party all day. They're always glamorous. Life's brilliant. I'm telling you, I'd love a ticket. I'd be just in my heyday there. Literally jump off of your house and you're dressed red, London and ready, and just break into the Leaper. It's just amazing. So she's obviously made it well in Barbie world, hasn't she? And then from that, she goes into the real world to explore herself. And there's like one clip where her and Ken are on rollerblades in tight lycra. I just don't know why I specifically remember that moment. And they're going along, and essentially a lad slaps her bum. So she turns around and punches him in the face, and she's like, "Oh my god, we'd never do that in Barbie Land." So there is this kind of thing where she like pushes back against men, but I do feel that they've played on sort of stereotypical norms. But there are multiple Kens. There's even I think there's, and you see them all in the background dancing and doing different things. But yeah, I can't really, I don't really get it, if I'm honest with you. But that's
It's just a film, isn't it? This is what I can't get my head around. It's just a film. So that does lead me on to question 2. Do you think that we've got to be careful on anything we do? Or do you think we are in a world now that does not allow you to have an opinion?
Very much so, if I'm honest.
Absolutely.
Why? Tell me why, Leah. Why do you think we're in a world where you can't have an opinion?
Because you upset too many people when you have an opinion, and people always take it the wrong way, and they don't think that it is just an opinion. They think that you're being mean or hurtful, and I just think people are too soft and just take everything that you say as gospel, and that you're hurting them, or that you're being nasty. I just think that's today's society, where you can't have an opinion and you have to keep your mouth shut if you do.
I mean, I do think as well, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I do think political correctness has gone crazy. I really do. We just seem to have gone from one extreme to the complete other. And I absolutely understand the need for political correctness. And I'm a massive advocate of inclusion. But, I think people get fixated on what is equality, and we should be looking at what is equality. We should be looking at what is equity and what that actually means for an individual. And I just think like this is the whole thing, isn't it? That, they've obviously tried to reinvent her, etc. And it pushes back on the stigmas of which she was originally designed. But I don't think that is the perception of every man. I could be wrong, seeing this tall, gorgeous blonde. But, I'm not saying men don't think with certain parts of the body, because they do, but we're not in a biology class. I've just left a maths class, so we'll leave that one there. So, it's just, I just think to myself, we've just gone bonkers, haven't we? And you're right, Leah, like, in kind of any sort of professional place now, like, the questions raised when you have like a discussion, or, you make a remark about something. And I witnessed something in my work the other day, and I suppose it was like, somebody had made a remark, the silly woman. And because it was a male saying it, it was instantly like, is there a gender, a PC gone mad? And I'm like, she just called him a silly man 10 minutes before. But, because there's been that sort of power, power imbalance historically. And I just think everything's become so over PC. And I cringe, as I say, because I know that there'll be some people that come on your panel that would absolutely think, what is this man speaking about in the world? There is mass prejudice, and yes, I absolutely accept that. But I agree with Leah. I think we're getting to a point where people are scared to challenge people, not because they don't want to, not because it's not right, but because of wording and the worrying of being offensive, rather than expressing that curiosity and being able to just say, I have a different view, explain it to me. And that in itself can be ignorant.
Harry, could you be in a world where you wasn't allowed to give an opinion?
I'd love to see her in Barbie world.
Yeah, not be a chance. No.
There is one Barbie character. I'll just say this name before we move on. And she like the Michael Barr that sends Barbie into the real world. And she says to Barbie, you know, you've got a choice, go into the real world or stay here where it's flowers and pink life, etc. And she says, I want to stay in the flowers and pink life. It's a comedy moment. It's on the advert, so I'm not saying anything that'll ruin it for anybody. And she says, wrong answer. Tell me the right one. So I do think you play well as that, Barbie Kerry.
What a bitch you
Take no nonsense.
It uses in the backlash to the movie, it uses the word feminism quite a lot. What does feminism, can't even say it, mean to each and every one of you on this panel? And do you believe you are a feminist? Let's go to you first, Mike, as the male on the panel. Do you believe you are a feminist?
I'd like to think I am, but yeah, I'd like to think I am, but I guess it depends what it means. I'm not 100% sure of the correct term of feminism, which is really bad. I should know that, but to my understanding, I am.
You are. And what do you believe then, to your understanding, is a feminist?
I think it's somebody that supports equality and equity. I keep stressing this because people confuse the two. And sees the opposite gender as an equal in every way, though.
Good answer. What about you, Leah? Do you find yourself as a feminist? And what does feminism mean to you?
Just the same as what Mike said.
Oh, what a
yes.
cop-out! What an
cop-out! Sorry. Yes, I am. I obviously do believe in equal opportunities and equal rights for females and people that identify as females. That's where I stop. I don't get into it any deeper than that. That's just what I believe, and that's where I'm at.
Go on then, Kaza. Would you say you're a feminist?
I haven't really got much to say on this, otherwise I get on my soapbox. But yeah, I stand up for women. I stand up for women's rights. Of course, I stand up for women's rights and equal opportunities.
What does it mean to you?
Well, what?
Now,
the support of, I know, yeah, you've got me thinking, yeah, because you've got me on the spot now. Just about supporting women, isn't it? Like, that's why I took the mickey out of Ken trying to push Barbie off, thinking, I don't think so, mate, off you go. Because I think if you look at, if a woman does get so far, I'm going on work in that. If a woman does get so far, why would someone come along and try and kick her off or take a place? You know, it's been few and far between where women get, never mind, just paid the same as men as they did.
Yeah, I could go a lot deeper into this, but it could be another topic. So I'm gonna
it could be, yeah. So that's why you should have just left me saying, yeah, I support women's rights.
But I will bring it up in another show.
I do think as well, Mick, I know that we've got to move on. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I have some friends who would say that, you know, oh, we're feminists and da 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 da, but then they would really expect quite traditional values in their personal life and their husbands to do certain things. And I mean, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong around it, but I just think that's the equity part for me, which is different to equal. You know, how can we all do different things, but it be meaningful to us? Does that make sense? So we can all have a bike, but if you can't, so that makes us equal. But if you can't ride the bike, it's not equity based, is it? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's about, for me, you know, I think there's that factor, and there is still, you are right, Kerry, there are still pay differences. You know, and I know that it's uncomfortable for some people to hear, but you do see, don't you, that women, you know, I found it really, really fascinating. I'm trying not to go on a tangent here, but I am a menopause champion for my local authority. And no, don't anybody panic. I don't know how I ended up joining this group. This was with really like powerful, I mean, especially when I said I knew how they felt, I nearly died off the seat. What a terrible thing to say. At which one point said, no, darling, you don't know how we're feeling. And I'll not tell you how she quoted the similarity to something else because it's not really appropriate. But getting to the point, so I'm there in this hall filled with women who are all generally about 45 plus, hot, wafting the fans. I borrowed one of the fans because I were hot too, which was just cringe afterwards. I thought, what am I doing? And but you know, like listening to like the barriers that they experience in an equal opportunities employer, you know, feeling that they have to retire early because they can't do the 9 to 5 job because they're tired in the morning, and you know, maybe they just need a little bit more of a kickstart and flexible working, and menopause being seen as this stigma, but yet councils would argue they are equal opportunity employers. So you just won't even think that these barriers are in place for these women. This was a hall filled with women that had come together from charities. You know, I mean, I was just so passionate by the end, and I was like, let's just take off our bras, let's do something. You know, I mean, I don't even have a bra, do I? Which is really bad. Well, I'm not saying it's bad. I might choose to wear a bra. That's a different conversation. You know, it was just so emotive, and I just thought, you know, there's still such a long way to go, isn't there?
Keep your thought on that, Mike, because it might come up a bit later on tonight. So keep your thought on that. But let's move on to the dating world, people. Don't we love the dating world? Now, navigating the world of dating as a single parent isn't always easy, especially if you are unsure of what the right time is to introduce your partner to children. But one man has split opinions online after he confesses he's not only refuses to let his potential girlfriend meet the kids, but he doesn't even tell dates that he's a dad. The 36-year-old man said he has a rule with himself that means he won't mention his children to a woman he's dating until they have been together for at least a year, because he believes his partner has to prove themselves to him before he's willing to let them into that part of his life. Hannah, do you agree with this man? Do you think he is doing the right thing? Leah, let's go to you.
No, absolutely not. He's lying right from the start, isn't he? So he's basing the relationship already on lies, and he's not being truthful. So that's just a red flag from me from the start. I do agree that a man should, or a person who has kids that starts a new relationship should maybe wait for a few months to see, you know, where the relationship's going. Is it going anywhere? But I think that he should right from the off tell his new person that he's dating that he's got children, and then find out whether you know, it's going anywhere, and then introduce them to the kids. But we shouldn't keep them a secret.
It won't surprise you that I'm on the fence, so I slightly disagree. Only because when you some people are fine with children from day one. If you say to a partner, I've got children, it's absolutely fine. But actually, if I had kids, I don't think I would say straight away, because I would want that person to know me first, to know what I'm like. And I'm not agreeing with him. I'm not saying a year down the line I would announce it. I think a year is too long.
But they're part of you. They make you who you are. That man is that man because he's got children. So they're a part of that him. So why should he keep that part of him a secret from that person?
Oh, Leah's on.
I mean, surely one of the first questions that gets asked when you meet someone is, "Oh, have you got kids? Oh, do you work? Oh, where do you live?" So if I totally get where Leah's come from, if that's a question that comes up and he turns around and goes, "No, I've got no kids," basing it on lies, he's probably off with another 6 other women trying to think, "Oh, which one? I'll take me pick. Yeah, I'll have you. Look, I've got 3 kids. I've got 10 kids. You're going to come and still be with me." Hey, here's the feminism.
It really doesn't take you a lot, does it?
It doesn't say a great deal, but it's one of the first questions that comes up, surely to God. And if he's lying about that to begin with, totally get he probably wants to protect his children, don't we all? But you're an adult, and all you have to say is, yeah, I've got one child, yeah, I've got two children. This is a little bit about them. Any normal person wouldn't expect, and there's a lot of not normal people out there, but a lot of normal people would not expect to meet the kids on the second date. Oh, they are. Should we go to Pizza Hut for a second date? Yeah, can you bring me brood along with me? Will you pay for them to go to the salad bar? Do you know what I mean? Who picked this bloody thing to talk about this? I swear down.
Mike,
Did it
shut up!
Picture in the paper? Did it put his picture in the paper? Because I'm going to have a look at how much of a twerp he looks like now.
Do you agree? Would you be utterly shocked if your now husband that you were dating back then, 6 months down the line, says to you, "Oh, by the way, Michael, just to let you know, I've got kids"? How would you feel?
Well, yeah, you'd feel deceived, wouldn't you? I do tend to agree with Kerry and
Never.
Leah. No, I do tend to agree with them both in the sense of, why would you put yourself in that predicament? And it just builds the entire relationship on lies. And anybody. I do think maybe age plays a part in the sense of I can see how that's much easier telling somebody you have a child as opposed to, I don't know, somebody that's 19, 20. I don't know. I just think, I'm not saying that you would still hold it back because it's not something to be held back, but maybe a date or two or whatever as you're getting to know them, but certainly not 6 months to a year for any age.
So let's change the question a little bit. So you're in a relationship and you've been in a relationship with this person for quite a while, and it comes to the part where you decide, okay, it's now at a point where I'm going to introduce this person to my children. I feel like I'm ready to introduce this person to my kids. So the scenario is he comes in, everybody's chatting, talking, you have dinner, and he goes off. And then your child says, I really don't like him. I really, really don't like him. I don't feel comfortable with him. I don't like him at all. Would that make you finish the relationship?
Well, this is the story of my niece. Bless her.
Yeah.
She's like the wicked. Everybody's like the wicked stepmother or wicked uncle, or I think that's really difficult. I don't have children, but obviously, I have lots of friends that have become step parents, and at some point they become the wicked step parent for some reason. And I think is when relationships mature and develop, most of them children, I mean, I've got a really good friend's probably a better example where she made her stepmother's life hell during them sort of early years that they were together. Her stepmom and dad was together. She was a teenager, was hormonal, etc., and negative feeling. But now they're like so incredibly close as she's an adult. And she says she often looks back and she's like, God, what were I playing at? I was just being a little mare, really. But you just think to yourself, if every relationship ended like that, there'd be a lot of lonely people out there, wouldn't there?
Do you agree, Kerry? How would you feel if you met somebody amazing and he was absolutely incredible and your children said I didn't like him? Would that be a real impact for you?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think it's going to be dependent on age of children as well. Kids don't really understand fully because they're not adults, firstly, about if mum and dad split up or get divorced and then they're in new relationships. Some children think it's about replacement. Some children don't want you to take dad off them or mum off them. So if a child doesn't like a partner, it could be based on a number of things, couldn't it? you know, you can imagine splitting up with someone. Your 24/7 is you and your children. You meet someone new. You start then, you know, splitting up your time as best you can. It's unfortunately one of the things that I think children do think like. They don't want the parent being taken off them. They just gone through, because they do go through traumatic breakups, children. Every child will go through it with parents that break up. And then they might just get settled and they see a mum, they see and dad, and then someone else comes along. It's a real difficult one because, again, it's like a bit of, it's trust, isn't it? It's trust. It's getting your child to trust you, and working it a certain way, I think, between you and the new partner and your children.
Shall I shock you though? We've done a poll on it. When dating someone new, would you walk away from your children? Would you walk away if your children really did not like them? 100% said yes. They would walk away.
Wow.
They
I
would
didn't
walk
see
away.
that poll either.
Yeah, if the child really didn't like them, 100%.
But what about if a child is a very spoiled little brat and is just stamping the feet and I don't want that? What about that? That's a very different scenario, isn't it?
What do you
It's a very
think?
different scenario.
Well, I'm kind of was in that position, so I'm the evil stepmother. Not evil. So I was with my partner for a year, or my husband now, for a year. I knew about the kids right from the off. I didn't meet them until I'd been with him for a year. Because we didn't know where we was going to be, whether it was like a forever thing, and it was a big thing introducing somebody to your children that ultimately is going to have a massive impact on them. So I don't think that he would have introduced me to them if he thought that I was a horrible person and that I wouldn't get on with his kids. So we met, and it's like a fairy tale really, because right from day one we've got on so well, and like his daughter is like my best friend in the whole world. And we've always got on, and we've been together for 16 years now, so we've all grown up together, and they are the best stepkids I could have ever wished for. But he did waited that whole year to introduce me to them, to make sure that I was the right person to have such a big impact in his children's life. And I thought that was like the best thing ever. I didn't say that, oh, shall I meet the kids now? Don't you think it's time? I totally left it up to him, and it was just great.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that lovely? So slowly we're slowly moving on. So on the subject of childcare costs are one of the biggest expense facing many households, as these have become particularly difficult during the summer holidays. Family without relatives to assist may face increased cost due to the needs for childminders or holiday clubs, and also nurseries if you have any preschool aged children. The average cost of childcare was £148 per week in 2022, according to Money Helper, the website. Now, a controversial question here, panel. Do you believe women should be given extra leave in the 6 weeks holiday to help with childcare? Oh, there's a dust panel.
No.
I believe parents should, not necessarily the woman.
Yeah.
I think it should be shared between the caregivers. And I do think caregivers of children should get extra holiday.
Yeah, agree with Leah.
The only thing I'm a little bit I always feel a bit nervous when I'm actually not a parent and I'm about to speak about parents. And now I get that, I completely get that. But wouldn't you be that annoyed person in the office if you were in the office and you knew somebody that had children, had extra leave just because they had children, and they had more leave than what you had in the office, just because you have maybe made a decision not to have children, would you be, so if you were in an office and you saw somebody, obviously you're not going to get the full 6 weeks off, but had an extra 2 weeks in more leave than what you've got, would you not be annoyed?
I think
If
it
you
depends.
want if you want more time off in the summer holidays, become a teacher. Because I honestly, I don't care. I'm a working parent. I've never wanted any more time off. I've worked around it. I've paid childcare costs growing up all on my own as well, made from scratch. If you want the holidays off, get another job that will do that. At the end of the day, you're working for the business. In one respect, I can get that, but you need to fit a job and find a job. So find a job that'll fit around what you want. I remember speaking to this young girl, years and years ago, you know, and I was chatting with her, and she got a job and she had a couple of kids, and she was, you know, really made up. Weeks later, and she's like, "No, I'm not doing it anymore. I only earn £10 more than what I was on benefit. Sorry to bring that up." And she gave that job up, and it was a way for her to get out the house and do something for herself, to provide as well, and to go through all that process. But it wasn't. It was too easy to not work. And then people are kicking off. If they are working, they're not getting enough time off. What do you want the government to pay for all this childcare for you because you want an extra few weeks off? I'm really heartless a bit like that, because I've done it and I've got on and done it. And if you've got two parents in a family that can work their leave over those long periods of school absence, then do it. Other than that, get another job. Really, yeah, I'm heartless with it, aren't I? But that's how I feel over that. Got no sympathy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I slightly agree with Kerry.
Michael? Oh, do you?
Yeah, I know. It's not very often, is it, Kerry? It's not very often. But I do believe, maybe I'm being a bit harsh here, but I do believe having children is a choice. And if you decide to have children, if you decide, that's your choice. Now, you've got to fit your life around that. You can decide not to have children or have children, but to be given that extra leave to cover summer holidays, I don't believe in that, because it's almost like, well, if I was a woman, right, and I'm only talking on myself here, if I was a woman, would I have a child? With that in the back of my mind, actually, I can still have my career, I can still go forward, and actually, I can still have that extra couple of weeks leave because I can cover childcare. And I just think, well, actually, if you decide not to have children or you can't have children, that's hard. That's really hard for anybody to go into.
No, I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, you have children, you have children. The job part of it is a completely different thing. You have children, you're in a job, you have kids. Having a family changes a lot of stuff about your life, your social life, your work life, everything. Sometimes it is best to reevaluate what you're doing, where you're going at that point. It's not you on your own. You've now got kids. You have to reevaluate a lot. Hence me saying, get another job. Because a lot of businesses out there do flexible working. I don't think there's a lot of businesses out there that are going to turn around again. You can have 10 weeks off, 8 weeks off a year, and we're going to pay you for it. And then in the meantime, spend money on maybe employing someone else to cover that work, or people working more time. There's a lot of knock-on effect to it, I think. And I do think at one point when you start having family, your circumstances might have to change, and it might not be what you want, but you're doing it for a different reason now, not just for yourself. So become a teacher, study and get another job.
Yeah, but
And then
not
have 6
everybody
weeks
can.
off.
I disagree with you there, Kerry. Not
No,
everybody can be.
I'm taking the mickey on that. But what I'm getting at is exactly that. You have to reevaluate what you're doing.
Because the other thing
This
is
is why you hear. This is where you hear about women not having kids until in the 40s because they want the career. And if you have
you've taken
children
over a
younger,
question, Kerry. Slow yourself down. You've taken over a question. Just slow down. But do you think it could be quite painful for anybody that can't have children as well? If this leave is granted, do you think that'd be quite painful? It'd be a reminder that you can't have kids. Mike, what do you think?
I don't. No. I mean, I think it's about context again. I think, Kerry, you kind of alluded to it, didn't you? That there's lots of roles now, flexible working. So you can do like 9-day fortnights. So you book a couple of them together with your annual leave. And if you can buy extra annual leave now in some places, I do feel for parents, in the school holidays, not so much the Easter holidays and things like that, the 2 weeks. I think everybody can pull on through with that. I'm speaking like the 6 weeks in the sense of childcare costs that much. I think I do understand though, however, it is a choice. And I think most parents, they might complain about the childcare costs, but they wouldn't think for one moment not to pay it. So I guess for me, I just think long as it isn't impacting. So I know some mums, it's generally mums that'll have shorter working weeks in the summer holidays because they'll have banked hours up through flexi time, and they might do 2 days from home of the 4 days that they're working. So, so they're still contributing to the service and the role, and there isn't an impact job. And long as that is the case, I think, and I know that's not what you're asking because flexible working is different to annual leave, but I think there are some ways around it. And I think if there isn't flexible working in place, then I do think that'd be, I'm also not opposed to extra annual leave being put in place via them independently purchasing it, or whether or not there was a government scheme to give them it. I really, that's just my personal stance on it.
Well, again, we've done a poll. With childcare costs going up, do you think parents should have extra leave from work to cover childcare costs? Again, 100% said yes. 100% of you said yes out there. Kerry, can you lean forward because you've gone blurry again? That's it. We can see your face again.
Well, I've just been told to shut up, so it doesn't matter if I'm blurry, does it?
You
always say you want a good debate and then you moan at me for going off on one on my soapbox. Shut your face.
You love
Ask
it.
some boring questions.
I love it. Sinead O'Connor, our fabulous singer Sinead O'Connor, was found dead in her flat this week, really, near enough near my birthday. So we do send our condolences to family and friends out there that did know her very, very close. The police have announced it as they don't find it suspicious, the death. They don't find it suspicious at all that she's died and she's suddenly died. But it did get me thinking, panel, does it make you think about looking out for the people around you? Do you think sometimes that we get completely lost in our own bubbles and forget the people outside our bubbles? Kerry. Okay, so go on.
Because he can see my eyeballs are still fucking bulging. Excuse me.
Go on, Heather. Do you think we get lost in our own
Sometimes I get lost in my own bubble because I'm not interested in anybody else.
That's very honest.
It is. Oh, yeah, that's what I am. I'm honest. Sometimes I've got enough going on up here for me to think about everybody else. Look, he's crossing the road, not by a pedestrian crossing. Oh, shall I go? No, not happening. Sometimes I've got enough going on in my head that I like my own bubble. That doesn't mean I don't look out for people, because I am one of the most caring people ever, and I'll you know, I'll look out for anybody at all. But occasionally I have to shut everyone out and look after myself.
But
Who
we do,
doesn't?
don't we? I agree with that. Sometimes we do. But what I'm talking about is that life just gets so busy, doesn't it? Life is so busy and so hectic, and then when we hear a phone call,
Especially when you don't get any extra leave for these holidays, life is very busy.
yeah, when
Sorry.
then we're suddenly hit by hearing that a friend has been really upset or is down and we wasn't aware of it. And sometimes that's what I mean by being stuck in our bubble. Do you sometimes get stuck in your bubble, Leah? Does your bubble burst sometimes and you think, oh, okay, maybe I need to be looking out a bit further afield?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that we all have busy lives, don't we, with work and our lives and extra things that we do within our lives and families and stuff like that, that it does, you know, one day turns into a week and then a month and then 6 months, and before you know it, you've not seen somebody for 6 months. But
that's just your husband.
Yeah. But I do try my hardest to reach out to people when I know that they're in a difficult situation or they're not having a great day. You know, sometimes you see it on Facebook, or you can see like you get a message from them and it's a little bit cryptic, and I do try and reach out and, you know, go and ask them if they want to go for a coffee and stuff, and if they want to tell me things they can, and if they choose not to, but I hope that I give them that avenue to talk about stuff. But it's not always easy, because sometimes people just you know, want to keep themselves to themselves when they're not in a great place.
Some people are talkers, aren't they? And then some people
Yeah.
are inward before that outward. Do you get what I'm saying? So some people like to just shut themselves away for a bit. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like that. I'm quite outward when I'm upset. I'm quite, stop it, Michael. I'm quite outward when I'm upset. I quite like to talk about things in my head to get it out. But I do know friends that are very inward, that are very, I need to work this out myself before I let anybody else in. And that's the end of that subject. There, the iconic lady gave us the iconic song of Nothing Compares to You. The only thing that, before I ask the last question, then I'll ask the last question, the only thing that really gets me about grief is actually nobody that I know actually did ever a tribute to that song. Ever a tribute to that lady. I would go to concerts. I've never heard of her apart from knowing the song from years ago. What really makes me sad now is that now that she's gone and she's not here anymore, every artist is singing that song. Every artist is doing a tribute. Every artist is saying how fantastic the woman was and how amazing she was. That did get me thinking, do you think that we appreciate more people in our lives more at a funeral than actually in a life? Let's go to you, Curtis.
I think you don't appreciate things until they're gone, do you? If you have something, you can let you. Not everything, that's quite a blasé statement, so I take that back. But I think we all could recognise that on here, that there are things that you would take for granted. And then if they went, you would probably value them more, or you'll miss them more, or you'd want them more, whatever term you'd like to describe it, you know. I think, you know, how for this woman, I mean, she was a massive advocate, wasn't she, of her mental health. She'd been saying things for years around her own emotional well-being. And I do think that sometimes you talk about outward, inward people. Outward people are the ones that, you know, cry for help, aren't they? And you sort of see through whatever means that looks like, they're the people that seem to get the support. It's more the inward people I worry more about, that you wouldn't actually have a clue, you know, because that is potentially more worrying, isn't it? And I do think you're right. I mean, it's so easy, isn't it, to you know, to lose touch with people, and but it's not always done maliciously. I'm struggling to sort of explain where I'm going with this.
No,
I
I
think
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
how can you always? I think my worry is I think personally, and some of you know me more personally, like Leah does, where others more through like panel. I think as a person, if you meet me or know me, people would generally say I am kind and I'm caring to help people. I am very keen to do that. A bit upfront at times, a bit like Marmite, but generally would go out the extra mile to help people. But I've got to admit, I think there is a point where like you can become too involved in that cycle and you have to protect yourself and pull back a bit. Like Kerry were talking about having her own bubble. I think that's also healthy. If all you ever do is give, the cup empties. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just a real different mindset for me. I would never have thought like that until the last 2 years. I'd been much more about sacrificing myself to help others. And I think there just comes a point where you have to just pull back and say, no, I can't do this or I can't help you with that. And make people, people have to be empowered, don't they? And some people choose not to be. Not all, but some choose.
Sorry, Mike. With music though, obviously that song "Nothing Compares to You" was an absolutely iconic song. Panel, is there a song in your life that takes you back when you hear something? Is there a powerful song in your life that you would say, yeah, that is my go-to song? What song would that be? Leah, let's go to you first. What song do you this is where you're supposed to say your wedding song takes you back?
I think like a happy times in my life that take me back to happy places, other than obviously the day that I got married, would be like musicals. And any musical song and any musical that I've ever been in or been to see, they just make me smile and make me happy. And just cheesy music, like 90s, 80s, good times.
What about you, Michael? Is there a song in your life that you would? I dread to think what your song is, but is there a song in your life that you would go to?
Oh, there's multiple. There really is. I'm thinking I could be with Celine Dion. My heart will go on one day. The next day to Christina Aguilera, Fighter. So whatever it tends to be, really, or Kelly Clarkson. So yeah, I think there is, but I wouldn't. I'm going to say something. I know it's not. The song that she sings it manically depresses me. It zaps the life out of me. So I do know her through her music, obviously, Sinead. But I must admit, I do think, even now, and I know it's really sad, I just think, God, could she not sung a chirpier song? One of the chirpier song. I just can't. It's just even we get to the chorus and I'm on my way out.
If you look back on the video now, Mike, you can see, and you maybe not seen it until now, but I tell you to go and watch it again. You can actually see the pain in her eyes when she's singing that song. You can actually see she's got very sad eyes. If you really watch the video again now, she's got really, really sad eyes. But Kerry, let's go to you last. Is there a song in your life that you turn back to?
No, it depends what kinds of moods I'm in. I love music, so it doesn't really matter. I think similar to Mike, I can have hardcore heaven on one week and then some depressing song where I'm just snotting out my nose, crying my eyes out because I can't control myself and the words are so upsetting. It just depends. That's a true story. But no,
driving down that country lane, Kerry. Driving down that country lane in full ballad, and then you turn and you see them staring at you in the car opposite you.
And you just streaming down your eyes, and you're sitting there like that. Yeah, definitely. I've been there.
Everybody in between, that brings us to the end of our show. Leah, you survived it. How do you feel? Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I've loved it. Thank you. It's been
Good,
great.
good. Have we got you forever now?
Unfortunately, I think so.
Oh, good, good. Can you thank my panel for this evening, joining me, Nicholas James, as Kerry Gillespie, Mike Curtis, and Leah Greenwood. We'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, 9 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.